What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. We got multiple different things to cover here for you guys in this video. Check this out.
The U.S. House today passed a bill aimed at stopping the next Capitol insurrection from happening. The Presidential Election Reform Act, as they call it, went through late this afternoon. Outgoing Congresswoman Liz Cheney introduced the bill with her Democratic colleague on the January 6th committee, Zoe Lofgren. Before the vote today, Congresswoman Cheney said the bill is important to protect future elections.
If your aim is to prevent future efforts to steal elections, I would respectfully suggest that conservatives should support this bill. If instead your aim is to leave open the door for elections to be stolen in the future, you might decide not to support this or any other bill to address the Electoral Count Act.
Well, despite her urging, or maybe because of it, Republicans mostly did not support the bill. Only 9 GOP lawmakers voted yes. Congressman Rodney Davis of Illinois accused the Congresswoman of rushing to pass it.
I believe what House Democrats and the 1-6 committee are doing is irresponsible and wrong. They've allowed their dislike for one man, President Trump, to cloud their judgment and guide their actions, no matter the consequences to this institution or the Constitution that they claim to want to uphold.
The bill comes after the January 6th committee revealed President Trump and his team sought to pressure Vice President Pence into rejecting the electoral results. The bill would reaffirm that the vice president has a purely administrative role in counting electoral votes. It also raises the number of lawmakers needed to object to electors, forces states to certify only lawful winners, and blocks states from changing election rules after an election. The Senate's still working on its own version.
The 2023 Social Security increase for 2023 is going to be one of the largest ever, and probably or could be the largest increase in 40 years. So for a lot of people, could be the largest Social Security increase, COLA increase, cost of living adjustment increase that they've ever had since they've maybe since you've ever been on Social Security. If you've been on Social Security for less than 40 years, this could be the largest increase you've ever had. So last year's increase was 5.9%, which was pretty large. That was pretty massive here. You can see here the 5.9% was very large compared to the year before. In 2021, remember the cost of living increase was only 1.3%. 1.3%. Okay, the average retirement benefits went from $1,565 to $1,657. Okay. Went up about $92 a month, okay, as you can see here from this article from CNBC. So remember that the year before, 2021, was only 1.3%. That's like nothing. That was nothing. So we went to 5.9% for 2022 this year. That was like 4 times higher, somewhere around there, right? So that was pretty significant here. You can see here is the cost of living adjustment graph of how large it was in comparison to the last year. So back in 2009, we had one of 5.8%. We actually had some years here where it was 0. Believe it or not here. Looks like maybe 2016 there was a 0%, and 2017 was only 0.3. Yikes. And then 2010 and 2011 was maybe 0%. You'd have to bring this up here. I'm just going by this graph here. But if we go back to the 80s, that was the last time that we had a cost of living adjustment larger than the 5.9% that we had this year. Okay, so we got to go all the way back to the inflation of the early 80s and the late 70s, okay? That's when we got into double-digit inflation, and I don't think we're going to get into double-digit inflation now, which is really a good thing. We don't want to really see that I think that would mean things would be worse now. But this kind of gives you an idea of how inflation has been in the US over the past 40 to 50 years. And we do know that gas prices have come down, where they did go down for about 100 days here in a row. If you watch my previous video, we are seeing gas prices go up in some areas, particularly California. They're still going down in places like Florida and Texas, albeit very slowly. I think both those states' gas prices on average went down about 4 cents in the last week. So you can let me know where it is where you are in your state and city in the comments section. But it really depends. Gas is one of the major, inflation areas that the Fed measures and the government measures. But another one is food prices. Food prices are pretty much still around all-time highs. One of the major readings we had is they were up 13.1% year over year. That's really rough, and that's really rough on a lot of seniors, on a lot of families that have to buy for children or multiple children, and a lot of low-income people here around the country, because 13% more for food, and that's the average. A lot of other food, we've seen a lot of things like eggs and a lot of meats are up even more than that, 20, 30% or more, depending on your food. I've seen a lot of comments from some people in the comment section saying that yeah, they've had to completely stop buying certain things and had to switch over to alternatives because of the cost of things. Yeah, and we've also seen bread. The cost of bread is out of control, and really this is because of the cost of grain, and this is because I hate to say stuff like this, but the cost of grain has gone has really been out of control because of what's going on in Ukraine. I hate to say stuff like that. I know that some people roll their eyes when that happens, but that has caused the price of grain worldwide to spike. So even if we don't get any grain from Ukraine, because because they're barely getting any, they're getting a few shipments out of Ukraine now. But what that has done is it's caused a shortage for the world, because, Ukraine and Russia are called the breadbasket of the world. They can produce up to 30% of the world's grain. Nobody wants to buy grain from Russia. Ukraine can't get their grain out, so it's caused a massive shortage in the supply of grain. So that's caused the price of grain to go up worldwide. So what does that mean? It sends the price of grain up. It's the exact same thing would happen with gas, with diesel, with oil, and with natural gas. And we're seeing the price of natural gas much, much higher than it was before the war. Natural gas 2 to 3 times higher. Higher, of course, it fluctuates almost on a daily basis here. Price of gas fluctuates a lot as well. Of course, it's come down a lot from the high, but now it's kind of leveling off, and in some cases going higher. And I think we've all kind of learned a lot here on how the world works. We're a global economy. We're not just a U.S. economy. Even if we don't buy a single drop of oil from anywhere else in the world, we actually export and import oil. And we've had experts, I've shown some interviews on I think it was the Chevron CEO, that said even if Congress passed a law to, years and years ago, decades ago, I don't remember how many years ago it was, but we used to not allow the oil companies to sell, uh, export or import oil, that we would just keep all of our oil here in the U.S. Okay. But years ago, Congress passed a law that would allow them to export and import oil. We're the #1 manufacturer of oil here in the U.S., okay, or in the world. Okay, but now we allow us to sell it and import it. So the oil companies, at their own free will, are allowed to determine what's best for them. So some of it they sell. So a lot of it's going to Europe right now to help them, deal with the shortage they're dealing with. Okay, but some we actually import. So they determine what's best for them. Now remember that they have to ship it over, where if they're not keeping it here in the U.S. So you got to think it's cheaper for them to keep it here in the U.S. because there's no shipping cost. If you think you got to ship something to Europe or any other country besides the US, there's significant shipping costs. Okay, just think about it like a realist, right? So it's cheaper to keep something here in the US, but for some reason or another, some type of oils they actually export and some type of oils they actually import, depending on whatever they determine is best economically for the oil companies. Okay? So millions of oils, different type of oils, crude oils, and WTI and Brent crude and natural gas gets exported and imported. But even the Chevron CEO, remember they have their own best interest in mind, said that if Congress passed a law that said we have to keep all the oil here in the U.S., it might not even lower the price of oil. It actually might raise the price of oil because it still doesn't. That doesn't necessarily mean that oil and gas prices go down. It's still sold on a stock market like exchange on the price of oil based on stock market. It's like a price of Apple share or a price of Google share or a price of stock market. So it goes for what it sells for on the open market. So even if they keep it all here in the US, it's still going to sell for what it sells for on the stock market like exchange. So it really wouldn't matter if we keep it here in the US. Now, maybe there'd be some shipping cost savings, whether or not that gets passed on to us or not. But this is kind of the issue here with all the politics and stuff. Now, maybe Congress passes this law here, getting Republicans and Democrats to agree on this. Well, I don't know. Let me know if you think that's going to happen or not. You can see here, but the Social Security increase for 2023 could be a little lower than expected as inflation continues to impact forecasts. According to the new predictions from the Senior Citizens League, the CPI index, which measures inflation, rose 8.3% in August. This is a decrease from 8.5% in July. But also remember, it's based on the CPIW, not just the CPI. This is where a lot of media gets this confused. But we'll just go with this for now. Okay. According to the most recent CPI data, the Social Security cost of living adjustment could be 8.7% for 2023. So just slightly under the 9% what we were talking about, still relatively in the ballpark, 8.7, 9%, still in the ballpark. At one point in time, they were saying it could be as high as 10% a few months ago, but that was like the best case scenario. So this is kind of where we're estimating it right now. But when you look at this compared to what we got last year, 5.9%, and what we got compared to the year before of 1.3%, this will be a significant raise. According to the Social Security Administration, the average monthly benefit as of August 2022 is $1,546.59 and would put a significant raise. So if we see a raise here of 1546 times 1.087, that would mean that the average raise would go to 1680 minus 1546. It would mean the average person would get about $134 a month. Of course, your results will vary unless you get exactly the average amount. If you make more than that or less than that, your results will vary. So we'll keep you up to date on this. We're going to be getting these results here in a few weeks, and that will solidify the cost of living adjustment here for Social Security, SSI, SSDI, VA, RRB, survivors, and everybody underneath the Social Security umbrella. This is going to be a very, very big raise, probably the largest since the early 1980s. So maybe the largest since you've ever been on Social Security, unless you've been on Social Security since before then. But regardless, it's going to be a very, very large one. We also have some other major stuff here coming this week that I'll talk about here in the next video. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel if you haven't yet. It's completely free to do so. If you like these videos, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. I forget to mention that a lot of times, but it just tells YouTube that you like our videos. All this stuff costs nothing. There's literally no cost to any of our videos. And remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I will keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. You can click here to watch my newest video on new checks that are coming out here for millions of Americans on October 7th. And also here is another video about the Social Security payment schedule for October and $2,400 raises. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.